So I will bite my tongue, tame these emotions.
Well, hey everybody, thanks for joining us again for another episode of the No Small podcast until Brandon decides to change the name to something more clever than that. So we're going to jump right into this for the second episode, talking about Taming Tongues. Hopefully you enjoyed the last one about the process, the writing process, the recording process, all of that stuff, the antics of tracking. And so we're going to get in and start discussing Even, which is which happened to be the first track on the record, which happened to be the first single on the record. I don't think that I went into now. Subsequently, Even was the first song that we actually wrote. Musically, Even was pretty much structurally there. Almost from the beginning of this thing. I didn't go into personally writing that thinking that, oh, this is the first song. I mean, I did because, it was the first word in the sentence. But I didn't go into it thinking, this is going to be the single, this is going to be the first song that comes out. And then all of that stuff. So, Even, what do you guys think? I personally thought it was maybe a flop, but
yeah, I'm glad that we were able to find a way to put the name of the song in the song. I'm done. That's it.
I know why you said that, but kudos.
I'm glad we were able to do that too. So how did we use the word even in this song? Don't all speak at once.
Oh, I thought he was still talking.
Because oddly enough, even is song 1, which is an odd number. And you would think if we were being clever, even would have been song 2, which would have been an even number.
Yeah, but this podcast is episode 2, so it's even again.
So full circle.
You act like I didn't already have that planned.
It was pre-planned.
Yeah, it was predestined.
Oh Lord.
Before we derail too much, yeah. So like, if the album concept was even foolish men are wise when they learn to keep quiet, like if that was the thesis of the album, we tried to break out each of the songs into their own sub thesis. I don't know. I don't write a lot of papers. I don't have to do that. Yeah, I don't have to do that anymore. But like we tried to take each of those words and apply them to an aspect of communication. And so I think the one that we like just naturally, instinctually gravitated towards was this idea of retribution, of getting even, the eye for the eye thing. And so,
if there's a thing that I naturally gravitate towards, it's retribution. If there's just one thing that we just naturally gravitate toward wanting to.
Yeah, some people it's love, mercy. For Sean, it's retribution.
It's retribution. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say this. So, at least in my mind, when we were putting this together, when you think about Taming Tongues, a lot of times people think about the words that you're using. Like that kept coming up over and over again when we were writing lyrics was, hey, like what do we say and how do we say it and how do we be precise and how do we mean what we say? But at least it was like meaningful to me that it's about words, but like the crux of the song is about your intention. Like it's about, are you just about getting even or not, which is a heart issue. So how do you begin an album that talks about communication? Well, it's actually to back up a step and talk about the heart and your intentions before you even get to the words. So it was appropriate that the first song on the album that talks about communication does just that. It backs up a step and gets at the precursor to the communication, if you will.
I think both unintentionally and intentionally. I feel like this song really, the song really like sets up the album. I mean, we intended to do that, but there are some things about the song that we weren't like, man, this has to be the song that,
No, so
we did, but go ahead.
Yes. So no, I guess I'm curious. What did you think was unintentional?
The music wasn't exactly like this has to be the opening song, so it needs to sound like a meatball. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I don't remember having like this is the opening track, so it has to sound like this and be like this epic thing.
Weren't you the one that said like this song has to be like, if there's anything this has to do, it has to be more prog rock? Wasn't that you, Brandon? Didn't you say that?
Yes, I totally.
All right, all right. So,
am I not remembering that correctly? I don't know.
To underail us, I do remember a very early version of the song. The intro was a riff that I wrote that did not stay in the song. That got axed pretty quick. That was the one with the blast beats and the like the weird time and the like.
I remember a version before that was literally just like a cell phone recording of us playing, which was like. But I remember because the riff, the main riff in the song is still there, or at least the main actually I think it's more the rhythm riff than it is like the heavy part of it. But like the fact that stayed intact, and I remember hearing the song like, yo, this has to be on whatever record that we put out next, because it actually
we wrote now because I totally forgot about that. We wrote an original intro beginning to this song that is not the beginning of what even actually is, that was in a weird time signature.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we don't play weird time signatures, so it sounded like garbage, which is why I didn't stay. Just kidding.
I think to speak to you about that.
Yeah.
That's a weird time signature.
Yeah. But then like we had the verse, which is in 4/4, which I think was from, I can't remember. I think that was from the original iteration of Even. And then I changed the chorus up to fit. It had more of it was 6/8. It had more of that swing feel. And, it wasn't, what's really funny was, like that 6/8 kind of swinging back and forth kind of mirrors that pendulum that we talk about in verse 1. And that's completely unintentional. I wasn't really intending to make that correlation, but I just made that correlation.
The 6/8 and the pendulum swing correlation. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super cool. It's really cool.
I will admit it was actually like we were trying to figure out how to go from 4/4 in the verse to 6/8. We were just like, trying to not make it like cheesy or just sound stupid. I mean, we went through a bunch of different things, which it ended up being a little drum section that made it work. But anyways, I digress.
I will say one of my favorite parts of this song that probably nobody that's listening to this has ever paid attention to is that line in the chorus. That's actually two lines that they go together. So the line in the chorus is, "It's all our fault." It could be a period or a comma. Lines are blurred in this selfish divide. So I don't know. I just really like the fact that it ends the line, but also fault lines there hidden between the two lines.
Yeah,
is a second
which plays into the earthquake.
Yeah,
if you watch the first episode of this non-podcast.
Yeah, hands down, I think that's probably one of my favorite play on words in the entire album. But especially the song. I mean, as far as I don't know that we have a lot of clever play on words throughout the album. We have good lyrics, good lyricism, but just that the fault lines imagery right there. Leveling forces.
So for real though, if you had caught that before us saying something, comment below.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know if you guys have noticed those things.
Yeah, click on the link up here. If
Okay.
I love those videos where the guy always points to a link and nothing ever shows up. And I'm like, what is he doing? So that's another one of these videos. Click on this right there.
Yeah. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah. On our non-podcast. Yeah, I think so. The song itself, in kind of the I guess what it's about, came from a lesson that I did with some of my students about an eye for an eye and getting even in retribution, and I used Newton's cradle, Newton's law of the conservation of motion, that that motion over here will be met with an equal reaction over here. And so just naturally, it's our natural tendency when when somebody says something or does something to us, our natural reaction is to meet them with an equal force. And what Jesus tells us in the Gospels is that literally we have to defy nature. It's literally like defying nature to say, no, we're not going to do that. And like even in the Old Testament, the eye for an eye was not about the victim as it was for the perpetrator. That many times somebody would steal something in the Old Testament, and what that person would face as punishment would be death. And so that whole law was kind of set up to really not make really make the punishment fit the crime, right? That it wouldn't be this overreaching punishment for something that didn't deserve that. But many people turn that into their reasoning for getting back at somebody. Well, the Bible says an eye for an eye. You did that to me, I'm going to do it to you. And it's like, actually, no, that's not what the Old Testament is saying at all. And Jesus even reiterates this in the Gospels. And so really when we're talking about retribution and getting even, the lesson that we have to learn is about forgiveness. And so this song is as much about getting even as it is about learning forgiveness. And I think we even in our song structuring and writing, we were talking. I was a big bridge writer until I Josh and I and actually all of us read this songwriting book, that not every song has to have a bridge. I'm very much like that. I'm very much a verse, chorus, bridge. I don't write to riffs. I don't that's just not me. It's just not how I do things. But if you write a bridge, the bridge needs to be almost this turnaround type feeling. It doesn't need to be a third verse-esque, but it really needs to be this turnaround. And so the third verse poses a lot of questions. If we choose to walk down this road of retribution, if we choose to walk through this quaking ground, what is left there for us, right? Would we choose to separate, or would we choose to, another play on words, take up the mantle to rebuild and restore? And so, like I said, the song is as much about fighting the forces of our own human nature for wanting to get even with people as much as it is about forgiveness.
Yeah, the first part of the bridge really speaks to that too. Vengeance is the Lord's, so it's not ours. But the tendency is, like with a lot of temptation in general, is to go for the immediate gratification of lashing out against someone and justifying yourself for doing it because they did something against you first, right? So it's an immediate gratification to say, no, well, I'm going to get back at you because of what you've done, and that feels good because you deserve it. And so if we enter into that mentality, if we give ourselves over to that temptation, then we just noticed, I mean, at least for me, I don't know if you guys can speak to this or not, but I've noticed that when we give ourselves over to that, not only does the person end up hurt by it, but it actually hurts me. I found that what I wanted to come was a satisfaction, but instead, the remnants are bitter. Like I feel terrible
Regret
myself, to the point that it feels like this ongoing vicious cycle that's almost disease-like. Like you get into this cycle of anger that that becomes your default every time something happens to you, and then now you've got to break that cycle because it's hurt you so many times in spite of the fact that you wanted to get back at someone else.
Yeah, there's anger, there's bitterness, there's shame, guilt. All of those things come from falling into the temptation to lash out, for revenge, for retribution. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, so I'm really grateful that we were able to take the conceit of a very standard song structure and put this at the front of the album, and use the bridge, like Sean was saying, to elevate the song. And so, like, we've stepped back. We're taking a look at the heart, before we even get into the words or anything. But like, really, I think that like the last line of the last chorus, like, it's not about getting even. I'm glad that we were able to talk about a song and, like, to wallow in the retribution, like, it is our natural instinct or whatever, but like to be able to elevate that song and to come out of it and say, like, like, it's not healthy to stay there. That we're that it's probably better to move on from that.
Yeah. So I was just thinking, as you were talking about that, all of our discussions as we were writing these lyrics, we referenced this in the last video, but we knew this was coming out in 2020. We know it's a politically charged environment. We had no idea that COVID-19 was going to be thrown into all of this.
It's true.
But we did know that in a lot of ways, people are at each other's throats. We live in a social media driven world, in a soundbite driven world. We live in a world where, people are divisive as default, and that plays itself out on a national sort of scale, but it's true on a personal level too. And it's true for us, and between the four of us, it's true with us with our families. It's true with us, out there in the world doing our jobs every day. Like, we knew that there's this void between us and another person when we come to a problem with the mentality of getting even. Like, if that's your starting point, you're not going to be able to fill the void because you've already decided ahead of time that the void's not going to be filled, right? And that the message of the song is, it's not about getting even, but if you make it about getting even, you're not going to take up the mantle to rebuild. You're going to allow that disease to destroy you, and it's going to be this seismic event that over time is going to cripple you.
Yeah. I know we mentioned this a little bit ago about different kind of iterations of the song, but I really think it's really funny, the choruses of and how they came to be. And I think it's it's maybe a point of contention on this, or maybe not a contention, but just disagreement on possibly how this came about. So we're writing this, and Josh Waltman's going to swear up and down that we gave him the wrong key to record this song in, and maybe we did. I don't know. I can neither confirm or deny that. But he writes something, and he comes back for this with the chorus, and it's like this soaring, like, these really high notes, and it made it feel I mean, it's probably not the right terminology, but what I would say the song is a minor key song. So it has that minor key kind of angry, mean kind of vibe to it. Yeah. So the way that he wrote it sounds very like happy and like, I mean, not necessarily happy, but just like, I don't know, it's very pretty. And I was like, something does not sound right with this. But when I started, I changed my melody to kind of fit with his guitar. And I was like, man, dang, I really like this. I really like this new chorus. But of course, it was not enough prog rock for Brandon's taste. So we really kind of had to argue about what chorus was going to be the chorus of Even. And so I think we eventually came to the consensus of, hey, why don't we just try to do both? So it really like the whole part of like Even like changing like or using borrowed chords in the last chorus was just completely by accident and completely because we couldn't like really make a decision. So we just like put it in there and it worked. And like,
what's funny is that I actually love that part of the song. Like it really like it elevated the end of it, and I think it did it where it needed to instead of just because at first I hated it.
Yeah, it wasn't enough prog rock.
It was a beautiful compromise though.
But I mean,
it was, and I really love it.
You think about the change in that bridge, where the bridge changes to really putting the ball back in both people in the relationship's court, right? Like, hey, we're at the point we need to make a decision on how we're going to move from here. That we hit that chorus, and the chorus has a different feel at that point. And then the words at the end of the chorus are even different. That it's not about getting even. Relationships and how we deal with each other when somebody hurts us. It's not about getting even. What it's about is forgiveness. And yeah, I just I love how the song comes full circle when we didn't mean for it to come full circle. But then it does come full circle. Yeah, I don't know. I really like that about this song in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always transition us, and I was like, all right, I feel like I'm cutting people off if I just transition. So I was like, I'll just not transition and let's just see what happens. And what I thought was going to happen was what happened. Everybody remained silent. And because everybody was silent, Brandon started to feel awkward about it. So he just says, yeah. And then it was silence after that.
Yeah.
So I'll pull the Josh Tomlinson. All right. You ready? So that's his go-to filler. So yeah, so no, so yeah. That's a JT.
Anyway, I wish you could like punch you through the screen.
Hey, it's not about getting even.
It's not, man. It's not about getting even. I like it. I like that filler. It works. It's good. I think you could lean into that filler, JT. Just lean into it. Yeah, nice.
So yeah. All right.
So, yeah, let's talk about gear.
Yeah, what gear?
That's exactly
what gear mattered in this. I know for me, that was very country. This is the first song on the album. This is the first. I used some baritone in No Small Tempest as like just like kind of chorus filler to kind of like build up stuff. But I actually got a Balaguer custom built, strictly like a true baritone guitar that I used on the majority of this entire record. And so this was really Even was one of the first songs we wrote, which was one of the first songs that I started playing around with on the baritone when I first got the baritone. And so this chord structure is one of the first things I wrote when I started actually playing baritone. And so, for me on this song, that guitar on this record is incredibly important, is vital for the sound of this song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Yeah, I've also got a Balaguer, and we
Alligators all around.
Balaguers all around, guys. This was the first time that I delved into drop C for dens for songwriting purposes. I think half the album is in drop C and the other half is still in like drop D, like we normally do. But yeah, to be able to get the really low, dirty tones of the drop C, it's just exactly what this song called for.
Nice. So I'm like the only string player in the band that doesn't play in a ridiculous low tuning all the time now, apparently. I'm still pretty much in drop D -2, which we'll get there. 2 is an interesting song musically. But anyway, for me, I use the pitchfork. That's probably the most unique thing about the song for the lead. When you listen to it, I'm using the pitchfork like a whammy pedal, which is super interesting to play live because I'm not actually using a whammy pedal. I'm using just the freeze function on the pitchfork. So anyway, that main like slide riff or whatever, I don't know. I think it's cool. It does something really different that your ear is picking up on that gives it a little bit of a hook there. But yeah, I couldn't have done it without the pitchfork. And I think most people use pitchforks for like down tunings and stuff. But I'm doing something kind of weird here. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed just in general with the overall performance from all three of you strings dudes. Just what everybody brought to the table and the overall tones of the guitars. I really like it. I mean, drums are, yes, I am the drummer, and not to belittle my instrument, but I mean, drums can still be drums to me. The fact that, you know, the guitars and most of this record shape the tone and sound, especially on this song. I really enjoy it.
I do think we were able to get a full range of guitar and bass on this song that maybe we didn't do in every song. Because I'm using that whammy to get the highs, and Sean is, you know, somewhere in the middle with the baritone and the bass on the bottom. Like it filled out sonically, which was really cool.
I agree.
Yeah, it made it pretty even.
Yeah.
And on that note, that concludes this episode of No Small Podcast.
Does it?
Yeah. Unless did you want to add something? I'm daggone it. I'm trying to host here, and you keep taking it from me.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna. I mean,
Yeah, so
I didn't know if anybody wanted to talk about like their musical influences or, you know, anything that they wanted to apply to this song.
Oh yeah. I just meant, oh yeah. I didn't mean, oh yeah, I was going to talk first, but I can. I mean, to me, I mean, I don't know that there's a song or artist drums wise that I listen to specifically for this song other than maybe Thrice, because I feel like they do a fair amount of stuff in 6/8. So kind of that like kind of open swing stuff. Riley Breckenridge plays, but I mean, other than that, there wasn't a song that I specifically listened to for drums, but I feel like there's probably some more influence there on guitar.
I think the end song, maybe some Deftones or something type of influence on that ending.
Yeah. So I will say Deftones really, like I listened to a lot of Deftones for a lot of this album. And for some reason, while we were prepping this album, I listened to a lot of 90s and 2000s, like alt rock. I don't know why. I just got into it, especially like they really hit me that way. But for this song, and maybe not any other song on the record, I don't know why, but I got infatuated with trying to do the whammy thing and listened to a lot of Rage Against the Machine. So
that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I mean, so I really like Tom Morello's like his use of whammy because it doesn't sound way too over the top. It's still catchy. So that was something that I listened to a lot in preparation for writing it.
Yeah, I guess this is our shameless plug for the Taming Tones mixtape that we had, the inspirational, just every song kind of broken out with a couple of songs that inspired each song. So go check that out on Spotify.
I thought it was called Blaming Tongues.
I changed it.
Oh,
Taming Tongues. Yeah, see, we do these things. We name these things. We don't consult you about it.
cool.
So, and on that note, this concludes the second episode of No Small Podcast. Thank you guys for checking it out. We'll be back whenever we're back or wherever fine podcasts are sold.